You're listening to episode 3 of the Feed You podcast.
Welcome to the Feed You podcast, giving you the real scoop on raising your business to new heights. Expert education, inspiration, and motivation to fuel your purpose, your passion, and your profits. Here's your host, Alissa Connor.
Hello, and welcome back to the Feed You podcast. I am so excited you're here, and I am even more excited to introduce you to my guest today. I really appreciate you being here, and I know you have options to listen to different podcasts, so thanks so much for tuning in. I truly do appreciate it. So let's get started. I'm Alissa Connor, and I'm your host, and I am so thrilled to bring you somebody that is very new to my life as an interview today to talk about the Clifton Strengths Testing. Her name's Alissa Daire Nelson, and she is actually a certified coach for the Clifton Strengths Test. Now, you may not be familiar with the Clifton Strengths Test, so I want to give you just a little bit of insight on what it is. I'm sure you've heard of Myers-Briggs, where you can go get your personality tested and then align your career and the way that you focus on different pieces of, say, your business to your personality. Well, this takes it one step further. It's almost like that test on steroids, because what they really do is identify your top strengths. And the initial test gives you 5 so that you know what you're in alignment with your strengths, and you know how to talk about it in all of your marketing and in your messaging and when you're out in the world, and you know that those are the areas you need to focus on, versus trying to focus on everything and knowing that you're not necessarily good at some things. So it is my extreme pleasure to bring on Alissa Daire Nelson, who's not only a certified strengths coach, but she's also an author, podcaster, and speaker. She helps business owners, CEOs, and leadership teams develop their natural strengths and overcome their limiting beliefs. She helps them to focus on and develop their strengths and learn how to catapult their business as well as their personal relationships so that they can have a happier lifestyle. So let me bring on Alissa. Welcome to the Feed You podcast. I'm Alissa Connor. I'm your host, and I am so excited to invite to the program, to the show, Alissa Daire Nelson with Daire Success Coaching. Welcome. Thanks for coming to the show.
Hey. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. It is such an honor, and I love being in your space. So it's like happiness all over the place.
I am so excited that you're here. We met by a fluke of the universe, and it has just been a love affair since. So at least on my side. I don't know about you. So Alissa, I have invited Alissa today. I'm going to have her in just a second tell us a little bit about her. But as I stated in the intro, she's going to talk to us about Strengths Finder. So my question for you is, how did you get started, and how has your knowledge around Strengths Finder really helped propel you to where you are?
Yeah. So I fell in love with StrengthsFinder based out of a personal need. I went through the first 30 years, some odd years of my life, wondering what was wrong with me, right? Like at every turn, what was wrong with me? And, when you have a really deep ingrained limiting belief like that, our brain's job, and I found this out afterwards, right? I didn't know this going into it, but our brain's job with our beliefs is to reinforce them, not to break them. So even if we had 100 pieces of information that would dispel that belief, all we need is one piece of information to go, see, I told you that, that's accurate. And so this deeply ingrained belief was so locked in that when I found the StrengthsFinder profile, and it was 40 years of research, and it was repeatable and reliable, and all of the, the research terms, that you need to know that it's legit. I needed that because in black and white, it showed me I had things that were right with me. And I needed that kind of concrete evidence in order to start chipping away at that limiting belief that everything was wrong with me. So that's why I fell in love with StrengthsFinder. And then I was like, I want to know more about it. I want to dig deeper. And so I went through a 30-week long certification course, which included, midterms and finals and oral exams and all of these things, and 50 hours of practicum coaching hours. And it was really, really deep. And the beauty of it is that I came out on the other side going, oh my gosh, I am so freaking awesome. And I'm not the only one. Like, everyone else is too. And just feeling this compelled state to go share that with other people. And so, while StrengthsFinder is the tool I use, and I have lots of other, tools in my tool belt now to help business owners, it's always what I start with, because of what beautiful concrete evidence it is for people to help them understand what's right with them.
I love it. And you are so good at what you do. So before the interview, I actually told Alissa I took the Strengths Finder and I promptly read my strengths, and then I moved on and did nothing with it. And so she graciously agreed to walk through her process with Strengths Finder for me, and it was fantastic. So I'm going to just give you a little background on what that looked like. I gave her my strengths that were determined by the test, and I believe you have a link on your website that people can go to take that test. Am I correct?
Yeah, if they go to daretasucceed.com/profile, it's actually a redirect. It goes right over to the Gallup website. I am not an affiliate. They don't actually have an affiliate program. I just believe this wholeheartedly in this profile. So you can certainly take it that way. Or, I do, as a part of some of my services, I provide profiles for people as a part of my services too. But you can take it for $20, and then you get their information, just the results and the things that Gallup provides.
Right. And so I had taken it because I actually bought the book. And so when you buy the book, you get the test for free. And so that's how I ended up doing it. So I'm somewhat familiar with StrengthsFinder. And so I had provided my strengths to her. And then this fabulous lady not only created a specialized report on my strengths, but a video to walk me through different pieces. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today, just because I thought it would be relevant for you guys to see kind of how this works. And how Alissa works to dig in deep with you and get you aligned with your greatest your greatest purpose, and the reason why you go about doing the things you do and how you do the things, so that you can focus on those things. And then not only that, but I thought it was really relevant. One of my favorite parts of your video and of your report is to be aware of the areas where you're not strong. Because I think a lot of times we kind of want to just push those under the rug, or else we focus on them to the point of dismay, where we're like, oh, I kind of suck at that and I wish I was better at it. But you're not naturally inclined to be programmed to be good at everything.
Right.
So let me know where you want to start. Where should we start? Do you want to talk about my strengths? Do you want to, you tell me how we want to move forward.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important first to talk about why we focus on our strengths. And one of the biggest pushbacks I get from people when I tell them to focus on their strengths is what they hear is ignore your weaknesses. And that is not what I'm recommending. It's important to know where your areas of non-strength are. But what's ironic is that there's 3 areas of weakness that show up for us. We have our areas of non-strength, just not how I'm wired, not my area of expertise. This takes me a long time and drains me of energy. And then we have overuse patterns of our strengths. So you hear people say, well, my biggest strength is also my weakness. That's absolutely true, because when we're naturally wired to behave in a certain way, and then we don't know what else to do, we run out of tools, right? We just keep hitting that easy button. And so it runs into overuse. It's like turning the volume on your radio up in your car way too loud. And then not only are your rear view mirrors shaking, but the car next to you, their rear view mirrors are shaking too. And that music no longer sounds good, right? So it literally is too much of a good thing. And then sometimes our strengths get burnt out, right? And so then we shut them down and we have underuse patterns. So here's why it's wise to focus on your strengths, because we take care of 2/3 of our weaknesses by optimizing our strengths. And then we don't ignore that we have weaknesses. We just go, hey, you know what? I am much better suited over here. I get more done. I can contribute more. I have more energy, but I see you are really great at this. It gives us the space to honor and edify and elevate other people in our circle who are gifted at the things that we're not. And so this is why we're in human community, is so that we can bring the best of us and allow other people to bring the best of them. And now look at that. We actually together as a community are well-rounded. But the fallacy is that we think we're supposed to be well-rounded ourselves. That's what we're taught in school. It's what we're taught in entrepreneurship. Like, you're a solo entrepreneur, so you have to wear all the hats. You have to be well-rounded. False. False, false, false. And so we have to start breaking that myth and go, I'm not going to ignore my weaknesses, but I am going to find a different route to fill in the gaps where I'm not strong. Right. So I just wanted to kind of level set that for people so that they really hear, I'm not saying ignore your weaknesses. I'm saying let's tackle them in a different way.
And I love how you talked about that, because pretty much everybody that you look at that has had great success in their business has surrounded them with a good team. And I think if you're not aware of your weaknesses, you don't know how to hire the people around you to support you.
That's right.
And so that's a really great takeaway, is just be aware of what you're not the best at, so that you can bring those people that excel in those areas on your team, and you can scale and grow your business.
Yeah, totally. And we'll come to in a moment the people who are sitting there on the other side of their earbuds going, but I can't afford it. I just can't afford it. We'll cover you on that. There's a way around it. So
I love it. You're awesome.
But we can dive into your strengths, Alissa, if you want to.
Sure.
And why don't you, if you wouldn't mind, why don't you share what your top 5 strength themes are? And it's going to be jargon for people, but then we're going to unravel it.
No worries. So just as a side note, when I took this test, I was a little bit flabbergasted that it was so right on. And I read through this again this morning with a colleague, and she agreed. She said, holy moly, that can't be. And she had never done this. So she's going to take her strengths finder too. But my 5 top strengths are strategic, input, relator, activator, and ideation.
Mm-hmm. Which is awesome, right? So people are like, okay, what the heck does that mean? What did you first glean from that?
So much truth in that, especially in the areas of ideation and strategery. I like to say strategery. Those are really the areas I excel in, almost to a ridiculous fault. Like, I can't help myself, especially when I'm looking at people's businesses, which is, a lot of the reason that I want to dig into what I do is because I look at their business and I can't help myself but go, because I see the big picture. Like, I see where they want to go and where they're stuck and where the problems lie in their business. And so I almost take it upon myself to say, if you did this, this, and this, but a lot of people aren't open to that. So I have to kind of hold that back a little bit, but it's just a natural instinct for me to know what they need to do to fix what's wrong.
Yeah.
And then also ideation. I mean, I don't think you can be an entrepreneur and not have ideas. I probably have a ridiculous overabundance of ideas, and I need to tone that in a little bit. I need to tone that down, because, you can't have a million ideas and not implement any of them. So those are the 2 that I resonated with for sure. But when you walked through the report and we're talking about a relator, do you want to tell the example that you gave?
I'm trying to remember which example I gave.
Okay. So
each of my videos are so personalized to the person that I'm giving. Then.
So the relator, the example you gave me, is that when you walk into a networking meeting,
yes.
You're not going to go and try and talk to every single person. You're going to strategically identify the people or person that you want to talk to, and you're going to have a more intimate conversation with them by asking them questions and getting to know them better.
Yeah. Yeah, because relator is a theme that's all about common ground, common connection, right? Something that you can relate to them on. And so, and it only allows, this is one of the most fascinating things about relator. I have woo in my top 5, which is a friend is just, or a stranger is just a friend I haven't met yet. Right? Like everybody's my friend. I love everybody. Everybody's my friend. And as soon as I meet them, then I'm like, hey, we have a new friend. Relator is almost opposite of that. Like only a few people get that term friend, because friend means you've let them inside into the deep, like deeply, right? And so relator, people with high relator typically have long standing friendships. Like your kindergarten best friend or your high school best friend is still your friend, 25 years later, and you guys still get together and hang out and such. And woo is like, you walk into a room and you have all these new friends, and then you walk into the next room and you have all these new friends. And so it doesn't necessarily hold on to older relationships without intention, right? And so for me, I have to really be intentional about going back and reconnecting with people I've met in the past, because I just have all of these connections, right? And they all are considered friends in my mind. Now for you, even now, as much as we've deeply connected, I'm probably still an acquaintance in your mind, right?
Right.
A colleague.
Right.
I don't get to be your friend because we haven't, sat down over a bottle of wine and had a relationship for a year, right? Like there's only so many people who get that. But so people who think that, well, geez, if I only have just a few friends, what does that mean for new people? Like I'm a business owner, I have to get out there and meet people. Relator is really good at finding that one connection that you have in common with that person. And so the best way to network is just to ask questions. If you've got high relator, go into that networking event and go, I'm going to see, ask this person, what do you do, when you're not working? Right? Oh, well, I own a boat. Oh my gosh, I own a boat too. Or I have a dog. And oh my gosh, I have a dog too. And then you connect on that one thing. And that allows you to start building the relationship. But when you have somebody that you just cannot find a connection with, right? Like you just, it's okay. But people typically feel guilty about that. Like, well, I should be able to like everybody and be friends with everybody. And that's not the case. That's not how you're wired. So just find the one thing that you can actually connect with that person on. And then as long as you can connect with that person, then you can continue that conversation without saying, this is my best friend.
And I think something else that I have found in my experience is that also being aware that what takes your strength and your energy and what feeds your strength and your energy. And I think as a relator, oftentimes, like when I'm surrounded by a lot of different people, I am drained at the end of that because I feel like that's too much for me. It's like almost like an overcharge, like you've overcharged your phone or whatever. But if I'm just in a smaller group and I can really relate and connect to one person, that feeds my energy.
Yeah.
And so that's something I've discovered about myself. And I don't know, I mean, part of it is probably introvert versus extrovert, but I think some of it is also just how you're naturally programmed.
Yeah.
Is that if you're being inundated at a conference, say, by hundreds of people, and you're just feeling like I can't connect to anybody here, it can be very energy draining. So I just wanted to bring that up as something that I've observed in myself and ask you if that's something that you could also relate to, just that strength piece of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the introvert versus extrovert conversation is different but similar. So there are strengths that tend to be extroverted and tend to be introverted, but it's because we all have our different cookie recipe, right? And I have seen people with relator and woo in their top 5. And woo is typically extroverted, relator is typically introverted. But it doesn't mean that you are one way or another, because you can have an introverted woo and you can have an extroverted relator. So how I define extroversion and introversion, and this actually is a little bit of a pain point for me. It kind of frustrates me when people explain it otherwise, and I'll explain that in a second. So how do you recharge? Like I recharge when I'm with people. As a solo entrepreneur who has a home office, if I am alone too long, I like spiral. I kind of go into like this crazy, right? And I re-energize when I get to connect with people. Now, so that's how I know that on the introvert extrovert spectrum, I am an extrovert because I'm energized by people. Now, introverts can go and they can successfully manage crowds or, et cetera, et cetera, but they recharge on their own. Now, do I have times where I need to recharge alone? Yes. And do you have times where you just need that connection with a really close friend, and so you're energizing with other people? Yes. So it's a spectrum. But here's what drives me nuts is when people say, well, I'm shy, and so therefore I must be an introvert, or I don't feel confident in a group of people, and that therefore I must be an introvert. And confidence, self-confidence is different than introvert and extrovert. And so you can confidently go up and present to a crowd, and still be an introvert. And you can also overcome this quote shyness, because often it's because you're not confident, right? So also differentiating the difference between introversion and self-doubt.
Right. I
And
100% agree. And I'm a public speaker. So for me, speaking in front of a crowd is not a big deal. And that's, some of that's around confidence. But for me to be energized I almost am drained by that. Like, cause there's just so much energy in the room that I almost have to step away and go have like a little bit of quiet time and then come back, because it's just a lot. And I really love that you made that distinction between extrovert and introvert, because I don't think people are aware of that.
yeah.
It did make me think, I'd like to back up just for a second, because if people are not familiar with the Strengths Finder, I actually didn't even realize this, or I just needed to be reminded of it, but that how many strengths there are. So would you talk a little bit about how many there are, and then how the test determines, what yours are?
Yeah, this is brilliant. And this is where the concrete side of my brain just loves this. So there are 34 identified strength themes. And each of them have their own, I personify everything. So each of them have their own personality, right? But in your top 5, this was what allows you to truly be unique. So in order for somebody to have the exact same top 5 in the same order as you, and now we're not even talking about 6 through 34. Okay. This is 1 in 33 million. Like, you're that unique, right? You add, and it's into the billions and trillions. And I don't even know, like the numbers are huge. If you think about your strength themes being in the exact same order as someone else, all 34, it's unheard of. And then you add in your life experiences and your education and all of the values and all those other things. And like, there is no doubt, proof, black and white, that you are the only one like you who has ever walked this earth, whoever will walk this earth, and whoever has walked the earth. Like, it's mind-blowing just how unique that you can be in this. And this is why another reason I was drawn to the Strengths Finder is that, you take another personality profile, and this is actually technically a psychometric because of its scientific basis. So it doesn't like check your quote personality. But other profiles, they put you into a box, and I hated that. I hated that I was oh, you're such an I. And that was the first personality profile that I was exposed to, was the disc. And people would be like, oh, you're such an I. Well, I am so much more than just this one thing. I am so much richer and deeper of a person. Don't put me in a box. And with StrengthsFinder, you don't have to be put into a box. So 34 identified themes, the chances of you having the same profile as someone else is minuscule. And so it allows you to really truly have your own cookie recipe, right? So even if, for instance, someone else had the same top 5 themes as you did, but they had them in a different order, their cookie would taste different, right?
Right.
Whether they have a little bit more flour or a little bit less chocolate chips or a little bit more vanilla extract. And it's the way that cookie recipe blends together that makes you your own specific, flavor, right?
Which I love that. And I love the scientific piece of that behind behind it, because I think as entrepreneurs, we sit around and we take shots at compare Schlager all day long, thinking, oh, Sammy's doing the same thing I'm doing and Jolene's doing it too. And we don't realize that people are going to buy from us because of us, because of the strengths that we bring to the table and all of our unique characteristics. So as entrepreneurs, I think it's even more important to be aware
Absolutely.
of that differentiation to that level.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love, and one of the things that you have on your Ultimate Strengths Resource Guide, is what are your unique contributions? Because those are the things that you should be putting in your web copy, that you should be putting out at networking events. Like there might be a million other people who are technically in the same field as you, but they can't contribute to your clients the things that you can. So even if you look over that contributions row and go, well, yeah, this, and this, of course, like, yeah, doesn't everybody? No, people can't contribute like you can because they are wired differently. And so these are the things that make you uniquely you. And again, because part of our job is to fill in the gaps of other people's non-strengths, you get to bring those contributions forward, and you're going to draw in your ideal client that doesn't have what you have to offer. And so not every client is your client, and that's actually a good thing. But if you're able to articulate your unique contributions, your unique selling proposition, that is going to help you to stand confidently in your own brand and be able to then not compare. We all fall into comparison from, time and again, right? But to stand up and go, wow, I am so freaking awesome. Of course my ideal client wants to work with me because I have all these things to offer them. Right? That kind of confidence to bring into a networking meeting or into the online space is magnetic.
And I think I love that it brings it to the surface, because I think a lot of the things that we are naturally good at are not on that surface level. And so when we go to write our website copy and we go to write our brand statements and we go to talk at networking events, we don't know what to say because it's just natural for us. That's just how we are. And so having that copy and having that affirmation of, not everybody has this, not everybody does this is pretty incredible. I mean, it's a pretty incredible gift that you're providing people to give them that differentiation factor from not only everybody in their same space, but so that their people can find them.
Yeah. And it's funny because the saying goes that you can't read the label from inside the jar, right? And this allows you to get out of the jar for a minute and actually read the label. And start to go, wow, I really do have some amazing things here. And, as woo-woo, and it's like, oh yeah, personal development, blah, 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 as that might sound, it has to start there. It can't stop there, right? It has to then move into compelled action. But when you have a confidence and a certainty about what you have to offer, now it changes from I have to go market myself to I have a responsibility to go serve the clients that need me. And that shift is pivotal.
100%. I love that. Thank you for that. So moving through this report, do you have anything else that you want to focus on? I mean, this was so in depth that I was a little bit like, wow, yeah. I need some additional time to process it. And I actually printed mine out for those of you that want to take a look at this. I can actually put it up as a screenshot or something, but if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and what I think is so powerful about this, and this is why I create the videos, because it is so much information. And if you're a human, like you have a ton of brand new information and we kind of shut down. And so I make it, I do the videos so that I can help you to know when do you pull these things out. So the resource guide does two things for you. It allows you when you know when to look at it. So when you're feeling suffocated or frustrated or angry or stuck or any of those negative emotions, that's when I want you to pull out your resource guide, right? So it's not to sit there and study every morning in your affirmations or meditation time, right? It's for when, oh my gosh, I'm really feeling upset right now, and I don't either know why, or I don't know what to do about it. When you physically pull out your resource guide, it gives you the emotional space to get outside of your jar.
I love
Right?
that.
And so it gives you the proverbial time for the 3 deep breaths or the count to 10 moment. And then, when you look at what your needs are, when you look at what your triggers are, all of a sudden it gives you language around how to ask for what you need, or how to put up the boundaries that you need to so that you can thrive. Right. And so this is why that resource guide can be so powerful, is not because of all of the information on it, but if you pull it out at strategic moments, it gives you the time to respond versus react to any given situation. And that is powerful.
That is really powerful. So, as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we find ourselves kind of in this lonely little world, and we're not always out into the community or in a networking event. You don't want to walk into a networking event and go, "Hey, I kind of feel like poop today." I mean, you want to be at your best. So, do you have a community where people can plug in and kind of talk about where they're stuck and talk about their strengths and find each other? For the people that are that don't have the same strengths as them, and perhaps some of the more weaker areas, do you have something like that that's a resource?
Yeah, gosh, I'm so excited because I'm just launching a brand new membership called Dare to Succeed, for the helpers and the healers of the heart, of the mind, body, and soul, right? So it really is for the people who are so passion driven, and they do their business because they care so deeply about people, and to build that confidence and the business acumen to help them to thrive in their business. And so this new member community, you can find at daretosucceed.com. As this goes live, we are actually in open enrollment, but that open enrollment will close at the end of the month here, and we're just opening it just a couple days a month, because we really want the month that people are in there to be focused on them growing and connecting, and for me and my team to be able to really serve the community, so that my efforts are not split between marketing and serving, that I really get to serve that community. And so in that community, there is a whole library of information on strengths and how to apply them, and who you should connect with. Like if you have activator, try connecting with someone who has achiever, because you're a good starter, but they're a good finisher. And things like that, tips like that on how to actually help yourself thrive. So I'm just super, super excited about this new community. So they can find that on daretosucceed.com. And that's spelled like my name, which is DAIRE, the number 2, succeed.com.
Well, I am super excited about that too. And I can't imagine that won't be a resource for everybody, anybody that's an entrepreneur or beyond, because a lot of times you are trying to find those people, and you interview people and you think they're a good match and they're really not a good match. And having the advanced knowledge of, here's my top 5 strengths finders, this is who I'm looking for. Those people are automatically going to pop up, and then you can determine from there,
Yeah.
is it a good fit for you guys to work together or something else?
Yeah.
We were going to circle around. There was a question. Oh, I know what it was. It was the money question, that people get stuck in this mindset of there's not going to be enough, or, and it goes back to our initial conversation of, you being different and having a different genetic makeup, a different complete makeup than anybody else out there. So do you want to talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah. So here's the truth. There are 7 billion people on this planet, right?
Stop. I want to back up and have you say that one more time.
Yeah. 7 billion people on this planet. Now, if you whittle it down to how many are your ideal client, maybe you're looking at, 100,000. If you're really niched down, okay? You can't serve 100,000 people, folks. So it's okay. It's okay that not everybody is your client. But if you are really specific about what you have to offer, now you don't have to worry about that. You can come from a place of abundance. And I know that that sounds really, really rich to say, well, when you're sitting there and you're like, I don't have any clients, but I'm telling you, if you focus on who can you serve the best, now go find that person. And, you can talk about it and I can talk about, how do you find that person? How do you really truly draw them in? What is that? But it comes down to putting out there who you are, and they're going to be magnetized to who you are because they're out there Google searching you. And they can't find you yet because you don't have yet the confidence to put yourself out there. So again, it starts with that confidence, but it doesn't end there. It goes to action. So you cannot sit on your couch eating bonbons. Is bonbons even a thing anymore?
I don't know. Let's say what's something else like those Rocher chocolates. Let's do that.
Right. So if you've read The Secret or you've watched the movie, like you think, oh, the law of attraction is like I should be able to just like welcome all of this in, but we don't talk about the law of action, which is also a universal law, just like gravity. Okay, so yes, draw them in, but the law of action says you need to go take action in order for the law of attraction to truly live out its full purpose, right? So don't just sit behind your computer and pray and hope for your phone to ring. Go move, go take action. And once you really recognize the things that are special to you and the things that you have uniquely to contribute that nobody else in your field has, now it is your responsibility to get out there and take action instead of sitting back and hoping that these people find you.
I love it. And I that is one of my soapbox moments is you got to take the action. People can't do it for you. This is your business. So I'm really glad you touched on that. One thing I want to talk about is, there are going to be people out here that are listening to this interview and they're going to be like, I want mine. I want her to do that for me. So will you tell us about the offering that you have where people can connect with you and you can create this report for them in the video and they can find out all of the information you generously shared with me for themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I did for you was the intro to your awesomeness. This is what I call it because it really truly is like, oh my gosh, I'm so awesome. So what I do is I actually provide a top 5 StrengthsFinder profile for you. So I cover the cost of that, and no, I don't get a discount. I pay for it just like you do. But, and then I take that and I unravel it for you. So I create the Ultimate Strengths Resource Guide. I create a video that is personalized to you. And then I'm also available, if you have a few email questions, and you can upgrade and do a coaching call with me as well if you want to unravel that with me. But you can start with the intro to your awesomeness and add the coaching session later on if you want to. So I love that service. They can find it on my website, but if they go to daire2succeed.com / I see, and I should have done this better. I put it into an acronym that I can't even remember. So intro to your awesomeness, ITYA. So daire2succeed.com / ITYA. This is a terrible acronym.
That's all right. I'm going to put a link in the show notes, so don't panic about it. I'll go and hunt it down.
It'll actually bring you to the sales page, which explains everything I just did, plus gives some, testimonials about other people's experiences, etc. And you can buy it right there on the sales page and get your intro to your awesomeness, because I do think this is just, it's like business 101. You have to know this stuff about you. And until you can grow that confidence in who you are, you just don't have the confidence to get out in the world. And then that whole fake it till you make it thing, like you're really faking it because you don't have that true confidence, and people see right through that inauthenticity. So get to know you, get to know why you're so awesome.
Yep. And I highly recommend it. It is a really, really awesome, valuable, in-depth gift that she's giving you. So go and check that out. I always end the episode or get towards the end with my coffee talk questions. These are just kind of fun little questions that give the audience a little bit of more, let's know the fun side of Alissa.
Okay.
So I'll just whip a few of these out there. What are 3 things that you do to start your day?
I make my breakfast. I have the same breakfast every single morning. I have my alarm clock outside of my bedroom. like down the hall. Otherwise I get back in bed. So that's key, important. And then I have an entire morning routine, which is like 4 hours long, which you guys don't really want to know, but I do have a very specific morning routine.
Nice.
But it starts with breakfast, meditation, and not going back to bed. Not hitting snooze.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I know I am always I'm guessing you're probably a pretty early riser. Most of the people that have those routines are early morning risers. I am one of those people too. So just so you know, my alarm's going off at 5:15. I don't know about yours, but 5:15 is usually my time.
4 a.m. is when mine goes off.
Oh, I have things to aspire to. That's painful. You rock. Wow. I'd be like asleep on my keyboard by now. Okay. So frozen or scooped ice cream, which is your favorite?
Scooped.
And what flavor?
I really like Moose Tracks. I do not do nuts in my ice cream. And I love chocolate and caramel in my ice cream.
Nice. Favorite holiday, Halloween or Christmas?
Christmas.
Oh, I love Christmas too. And you're up northern, so it's really cold where you are for Christmas. So it's Christmas,
which is perfect because you turn on all the candles. I light all the candles, and you turn on the fireplace, and it's just cozy and awesome.
Nice. Most unusual talent that people don't know about.
I am a queen at folding king size fitted sheets.
Really? I think you should do like a video tutorial on that.
I've been thinking about that for several years because I am really gifted at folding king size fitted sheets.
Because like Martha Stewart's the only one I know that can really do it. So I'm in. Show me. Coming out. You're showing me the sheet.
Hidden talents.
That's right. I love it. Last one. Harry Potter or The Hobbit?
Ooh, Harry Potter.
Oh, there's my girl. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it has been my extreme pleasure to have you on the show. I was so excited when you said you would be here, and I have not been disappointed. So I would love for my audience to be able to find out more about you, including your podcast that I know that you have, and all of the other things that you have going on. So would you tell them just a little bit about where they can find you, and I'll make sure to include all of the links in the show notes so they can find you.
You bet. Well, the best place is really my website because it's the place to start. So if you are interested in the podcast, you can certainly check the podcast out there. If you're interested in services, you can certainly check that out there. And if you're interested in the membership, you can also check that out there. So daire2succeed.com. And depending on what your needs are, you can find exactly what you need right there. So DAIRE, 2, succeed.com.
Thank you again so much for being here. It has been wonderful and really my pleasure.
Mine too. I love connecting with you.
Until next time, we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Feed You Podcast at www.alissaconnor.com/podcast.